You have thought about it from every angle. You have made the list, weighed the pros, weighed the cons, researched it, reconsidered it, talked yourself into it, and back out of it more times than you can count. And still, you have not moved. Here's the thing nobody tells smart people. The same mind that can see every possibility can also become the thing that traps you inside all of them. This is Robert, 36 years old, Chicago, Illinois. Robert is, by most measures, one of the sharper people in any room he enters. He graduated near the top of his law school class, made junior partner at 33, reads widely, thinks carefully, asks the kind of questions that make other people realize they had not thought things through. And for the last 4 years, Robert has been meaning to leave. Not the city, not his life, just this firm. He has an idea for his own practice, something smaller, more focused, work that actually aligns with the reasons he went to law school in the first place. He has a business plan, 3 versions of it actually, a spreadsheet modeling different scenarios, a folder of bookmarked articles about starting a solo practice, notes from 2 conversations with lawyers who made the jump. He has been ready to start for approximately 3 years, and he has not started. Every time the decision gets close, something shifts. A new variable enters, a new risk surfaces, a new question he hasn't fully answered yet, and the folder stays closed. And Monday becomes Tuesday, becomes another year at a desk he stopped wanting a long time ago. The conversation that changed things happened over dinner with an old friend named Patrick. Patrick was not a lawyer. He ran a small architecture firm he had started 7 years ago out of a spare bedroom. Robert had been telling him about the plan. Again, the same plan, the one he had been telling Patrick about for going on 3 years now. Patrick listened the way he always did, patiently, without interrupting. And when Robert finished, he set down his fork and said something Robert was not expecting. He said, "Robert, I have heard this plan 6 times now. It gets better every time. More detailed, more thought through, more prepared." He paused. "And it is never going to be ready enough for you to start, because ready is not what you're waiting for." Robert looked at him. "Then what am I waiting for?" he asked. Patrick said, "I think you are waiting for a guarantee, and I think some part of you already knows that guarantees do not exist, and that terrifies you, because you are someone who needs to be right, and you cannot be right about something before you've done it." Robert drove home that night and did not turn on the radio. He needed to sit with what Patrick said, because it was the most honest thing anyone had said to him in years, and it was the thing he had been thinking himself but could not say out loud. The following Sunday morning, Robert did not open his laptop. He did not open the business plan folder. He sat at the kitchen table with a single piece of paper and wrote one question at the top. What am I actually afraid of? Not the surface answers, not the financial risk, not the market timing, not the questions he had already analyzed in 3 versions of a spreadsheet. The real answer. He sat with it for a while and then wrote, "I am afraid of trying my hardest and finding out it still wasn't enough." He looked at that sentence for a long time. That was not a business problem. That was not a planning problem. That was not something another version of the spreadsheet was going to solve. That was the thing underneath everything, the thing the research and the analysis and the endless preparation had been protecting him from having to face. Robert had a habit of watching things closely. It was one of the things that made him a good lawyer. One morning, drinking coffee by the window, he watched a spider build a web in the corner of the frame. The spider did not study the corner first. It did not measure the distance between anchor points. It did not wait for ideal conditions. It simply began. One thread attached to one point, then another, then another. The structure emerging not from a plan, but from the act of beginning. Robert watched it for 20 minutes. He thought about his folder, his 3 versions of the business plan, his bookmarked articles. The spider did not have a folder. The spider had a first thread, and the web existed because it started there, not because it knew what the web would look like before the first thread was placed. Robert opened a new document that morning. Not the business plan, just a list of the 3 smallest possible first steps, things he could do this week. Not to launch the practice, just to begin the first thread. Over the following months, Robert worked with a mentor who specialized in what she called decision paralysis in high performers. She gave him 5 principles, not for making better decisions, for making decisions at all. The first principle: distinguish between a decision and a research project. Robert had been treating his career change as a research project with no end date. His mentor pointed out that he had passed the point of useful research approximately 2 years ago. Additional information was no longer informing the decision, it was replacing it. There is a point in every decision where more thinking stops adding clarity and starts adding noise. The skill is recognizing when you have crossed that line, and Robert had crossed it long before he admitted it to himself. The second principle: set a decision date and treat it like a court deadline. Robert understood deadlines. He had built a career around them. He knew that without a deadline, work expands to fill available time. His mentor told him the same was true of decisions. He set a date 6 weeks out, wrote it down, told Patrick, made it real by making it visible. The date did not make the decision easier, but it made the endless postponement impossible. And sometimes that's enough. The third principle: define the cost of not deciding. Robert had spent years calculating the risks of going. He had never once calculated the cost of staying. His mentor asked him to do the math on what another 5 years at the firm would cost him, not financially, in terms of the life he was not living, the work he was not doing, the person he was not becoming. That calculation looked different from all the others because it had a number attached to it he could actually feel. The fourth principle: let imperfect action teach you what analysis cannot. Robert's mentor said something he wrote down and kept. She said, the information you need most is only available on the other side of starting. No amount of research can tell you what you will learn from your first difficult client, your first unexpected win, your first week of working for yourself. The spider does not know what the web will catch before it builds the web. It only knows that staying in the corner catches nothing. The fifth principle: separate self-worth from outcomes. This was the one Robert came back to most. His fear was not really failure. His fear was what failure would mean about him, that he was not as capable as he believed, that the image he had worked to build could be undone by one wrong move. His mentor said, you are not your outcomes. You are your effort, your honesty, your process. Outcomes are partly yours. They are also partly luck, timing, circumstance. A person who tries and falls short knows something a person who never tries will never know. And that knowledge is not a consolation prize. It's the whole point. 9 months after that dinner with Patrick, Robert opened his own practice. Not because he finally felt ready, because he finally accepted that ready was never coming. The first 3 months were harder than the spreadsheet had predicted. 2 clients he expected did not materialize. One who did was more difficult than anticipated. There were weeks where the silence of a small office felt very different from the silence he had imagined. But there were also things no spreadsheet could have told him. The Tuesday afternoon, he spent 3 hours on a case that actually mattered to him. The client who called to say thank you in a way that felt personal. The morning he sat at his own desk, at his own space, doing work he had chosen, and felt something he had not felt at work in a long time. Present. Not managing risk, not calculating outcomes, not preparing for a future that kept retreating as he approached it. Just present, in the life he had decided to build. The folder is still on his laptop, version 3 of the business plan. He has not opened it since the day he started. The web does not need the plan anymore. The web is already being built. Overthinking is not a sign of intelligence. It's intelligence turned inward on itself, consuming the energy it was supposed to use to move you forward. You do not need more information. You do not need a better plan. You do not need to wait until the conditions are right, or the timing is perfect, or the fear goes away. The fear does not go away before you start. It goes away because you start. Place the first thread. The web will follow. If Robert's story felt uncomfortably familiar, drop the word "start" in the comments. And if someone you know has been holding a folder closed for too long, send this to them. Mindshift Tales. Shift your mind, change your life.